Story number 1. File under Stuff That Feels Illegal. Back in September, we noticed plumbing issues in our apartment. It took video evidence of the taps of full blast with no water coming out, a kidney infection, and 6 months for them to start looking at it. This on top of 6 years of our heater breaking down every winter. Needless to say, emergency is not a word in the maintenance vocabulary. It hit a new peak when I noticed that my brand new carton of ice cream was soup. At first, I thought that maybe the freezer's door was stuck open just enough to let out cold air over the day. But when it was duct taped shut for a day and everything began melting, there was no doubt that the freezer was dead. I called the emergency maintenance line and was told that because it was Sunday, nothing could be done about it until sometime Monday, and that I should get a cooler full of ice. Hell no. All of our meat for the week was thawing in the freezer, and the fridge was at a nice, cool 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Salmonella likes to say hello at 40. I have had food poisoning so bad I had to be hospitalized because I was blacking out while vomiting. I was not going to stand for this. I screamed, cussed out, and did everything short of threatening violence or having the guy fired. Monday morning came and we were told that we would be getting a new fridge Tuesday, most likely at noon. Great. I mean, it sucked that we had to throw everything we had in terms of food away right when rent was due, but we have a new freezer and a new fridge. Yet, Tuesday at 4, it still hadn't been delivered. Half an hour later, there was a knock on the door. The maintenance guy who I had been screaming at, who had let us down time after time, had important news. The fridge was on its way. Yay! He was done at 4:30 though, so he was leaving for the day. But he'd be back Wednesday morning to unbox the new one, set it up, and wheel away the old one. So we went from having a fridge with a dead freezer to a dead fridge and freezer to 2 fridges that we couldn't use at all. And we had to rely on fast food because maintenance wouldn't do any emergency work. Meanwhile, my autoimmune compromised roommate had E. coli all weekend and I couldn't use my only toilet.
I know you see her, distance sitting real good in my soul. Everywhere this little bit gone, she pick up and I believe she's cold. She was my heart, I don't know, try all this for. But by default, she don't think of me. At first she wasn't indeed. She was like a dance, like a female. All my life I want the beard indeed. Now she's far away, but I have to know.
Story number 2. It pays to know the law. We recently bought our first house and moved there from an apartment in a large complex in a neighboring city. Before moving out, we cleaned and scrubbed the apartment, but as we hadn't had time to shampoo the carpets like the complex wanted everyone to do moving out, we figured we wouldn't get the full damage deposit back. Oh well. We got all our things out and left no trash or messes. Plus, we were happy to be done with the nickeling and diming the apartment complex did at the slightest opportunity. 2.5 weeks passed with no words about the deposit. In my state, the law says that the landlord must give former tenants an itemized receipt and remaining damage deposit no later than 3 weeks after the tenant moves out. After 3 weeks, the landlord forfeits any right to the deposit. It all goes to the former tenant, regardless of what the state of the rental was left in. Furthermore, If the landlord attempts to recover, the courts will award it up to twice the damage deposit to the former tenant, except in extraordinary cases, of course. Knowing this, I called the apartment office and confirmed that they had our new address. I didn't tell them why. I'm curious. They did. A month after we moved out, that is, 1 week later, we got an envelope from the apartment complex with no itemized receipt, just a check for a third of our damage deposit. The postmark was after the 3-week mark as well. Next, I called my dad, an attorney who handles non-criminal law and has experience with property law. I told him what was going on. His advice: Dad, don't cash the check, at least not yet. Write a letter citing the law and the apartment complex's violation of it, and go ahead and include that you talked to a lawyer about it. That's not a lie. In the instance when I've reached out to a lawyer, like writing up my will, Dad's the one I go to. I happily typed up a short letter along the lines of, me. We received your check on date after moving out on date 4 weeks prior. According to the state code, which you have violated, and on the advice of my lawyer, I must insist that we are refunded the full deposit in accordance with the state law. A day or two later, I got a phone call from the apartment complex. A very tense sounding person on the other end told me in very stiff, formal terms that they received my note and a check for the remaining balance was on its way. Once I got that, I took both to the bank and deposited them. The moral of the story: know your rights and follow the rules. We would have been fine with a smaller amount had they just followed the state law. But once they tried to pull a fast one on us, probably assuming that we didn't know what they were doing. Pay up. Story number 3. When rental goes mental. I am a landlady, renting out multiple rooms in different shared apartments to students, young professionals, and/or tourists. For the last few months, I've had a tenant that just doesn't understand the concept of people living together. Maybe he lived under a rock for the first few decades of his life. Cleaning up the kitchen, oven, or stove after cooking? Why bother? Someone else will surely deal with the mess and do it for me. Flooding the bathroom after each use and leaving different colored stains on and around the toilet. So other tenants or the landlady will be there to clean it up. But the highlight is when he finally supposed to be moved out. He asked multiple times about his deposit. I assured him that he will get his cash when he turns in his keys and everything is in the same condition as he got it when he moved in. I even sent him a list of things he needs to do before moving out. Wash the bed linens, clean the fridge, remove all personal property, and so on. I arrived a few minutes early. He is shuffling around, but there is so much stuff still around. The fridge is dirty and full of his food, lots of his things, bikes, boxes, food, bathroom items, are still all around the apartment. And I think this is just impossible to do in 15 minutes. 5 minutes before the arranged time, he says, "Okay, you can come check out my room now." Me, I'm not here to check the room. I'm here to check everything, take your keys, and return the deposit when you leave your apartment. The tenant, but you never said that. I need another 4 hours for that. He knows I have no more time today. Me, I can't check the room if all your stuff is still here. And I won't return any deposit if you don't return the keys. Technically, he has until tomorrow, until the month is over. It was his decision to return the keys today. This went on for several minutes, and he did not understand why I just won't check the room, return the deposit, and then leave him with the keys and all his things in my apartment, as if that was the most normal thing to expect. I gave up after several minutes of explaining the same thing over and over, and then I turned around and walked out. I told him to put the keys in the post box when he cleared out, and I would check everything, then I would return the deposit via bank transfer. Let's see what happens next. Story number 4. Someone had a long day. This story takes place when I first moved out entirely on my own. I've lived with roommates previously, but this was my first apartment that was 100% truly just mine. I had been living there for about a week and was still in the unpacking process, but I had all the essentials up and running. That's basically boiled down to TV, game console, internet, and computer. At around 9:30 p.m., I was settling in for a nice night of quality PC gaming when I suddenly heard someone at my door. Keys jangled. The knob was turned. Different keys jangled. The knob turned again. Someone was thumping at my door, trying to force it open. I screwed my courage to the sticking post, as it were, and went over to the door. Looking through the peephole, I saw a young lady trying to desperately get into the door. There was nobody else in the hall I could see, so I opened the door. Me. Can I help you? The lady looked suddenly very alarmed. What are you doing in my apartment? Me. I think you're confused. This is my apartment. I moved in about a week ago. The lady. No, this is my apartment. I've lived here for months. Me. Are you serious? Because I've been here for a week and the last guy who rented this place only left because of his work visa, so I don't know what's going on. She finally paused for a moment. She looked at me, then at the apartment number on the door, then back at me, and then back at the number. She sort of nudged her hand and shoulder under my arm and looked into the apartment. She ever so slowly pulled back out into the hallway, looked at me, and looked back at the apartment number. Lady, oh, this isn't my apartment. Maybe that's why my key didn't work. Me, that makes sense. So, did you need anything else? The lady, this is building 300, isn't it? Me, no, this is 500. Thus you know. And I gestured at the apartment number on my door, which of course started with a 5. Oh, back to the stairs and outside, presumably. I never actually ended up seeing her again, and I did mention it to the landlord. Since I didn't have a name and only the vaguest of descriptions, there wasn't anything they could actually do about it. I hope wherever you are, you figure out where you live. Story number 5. Living in a tent made of red flags. I take a tour of an apartment complex and everything looks above board to me. Several staffs are in the office and the tour itself is very professional. The manager tells me that the rate for the 1 bedroom, and I say I'll need to think about it. I tour a few other complexes. 2 days later, I give the first complex a call in the morning. Me, I'd like to come in and sign a lease. Would that be possible? Staff member, oh yes, you can come in at any time. Me, great. And it's $575 for a 1 bedroom, right? Staff member, oh, it's actually $605 for a 1 bedroom. This is the first red flag. I decided to go in anyway. When I get there, it's mid-afternoon, and the staff member is the only one in the office. She is running between phones and trying to help tenants who come in with issues while I'm there. I ended up being there for about half an hour, during which the time no other staff makes an appearance. She gives me a blank application to fill out, and I ask about the price hike. She has to hunt around for a price list and explains that the rate increases with each day that passes, which is the first time I've ever heard of this. She also mentioned that the rate is now at $625. While she helps a tenant, I look over the application. It's generic, with no details about the specific unit I'll be renting. Staff member, if you just sign that at the bottom, I'll make sure my manager gets that and gives you a call. Me, I'd rather not sign a blank form. The monthly rate isn't even on here yet. Staff member, oh, it'll be $625. It should be fine. Me, yeah, I still prefer that to be written on the form before I sign it. I stand up. I'm going to have to get some more information from my co-signer too before I finish this. I did not go back.